If you don't understand Amazon, you don't understand e-commerce. This hated marketplace holds the secret to your brand's growth. Whether you live in retail, in D2C, or you're already selling on Amazon, this applies to you. Because all brands here today is that Amazon sucks. That it's a race to the bottom, own your customer, build your D2C, get into retail, and keep your brand away from that mess. Meanwhile, Amazon quietly runs about 40% of all US e-commerce. It's part of how Grüns and Bloom even were valued at $1 billion within a few years. So that belief isn't just strong, it's expensive. I've partnered with dozens of brands and sold hundreds of millions of dollars across online marketplaces, particularly Amazon, and I've watched from the inside what this channel does for brands that execute it well. And in this video, I'll show you how they use it to build better products, price them smarter, walk into every other channel with proof instead of hope, and make their entire brand stronger. It all comes down to one thing I call the feedback gap. More on that in a minute. But first, you need to see what actually Amazon is, because it's not what actually most brands think it is. Amazon is not just a sales channel, it's the fastest feedback machine ever built for physical products. Because all of e-commerce runs on one thing: how fast you learn the truth about your product, and how quick you can iterate and optimize on that. And Amazon tests you toe-to-toe against a sea of competitors. D2C, for example, it feels fast, but it's distorted. Your ads choose who come to the product. You're not really getting specifically a balanced or unbiased feel for it, because you're getting someone particularly coming to you. And there's no comparison to others. They're a biased customer coming in. On the other hand, big box retailers, not only you are getting compared to many other people, but you have to wait months on end to get that feedback. And that feedback, the data is not as solid as you want it to. The attribution is not as tailored as Amazon. I'll get into more of that later. So you don't really know how you placed, and even if you do know, you know it very much, like way too far to be able to iterate that quickly. On the other hand, Amazon is neutral. Everyone sits next to each other. People are searching keywords, and you have to win on that. And you get conversion data within hours. Amazon has now have been very generous with data. Even other examples like Vine reviews, giving away your product using the Vine program, you get that data back immediately. So a star rating is going to be on public, it's going to hurt you, so you can't just sweep it under the rug. So you actually have to pay attention to it too. And that time to learn that data and to actualize it and to be able to receive that feedback is what we call here the feedback gap. Retail, it's month. DTC, it's not really, how can I say this? It's not really balanced. It's very biased because they're coming specifically towards you. So they might have a bias towards your preference. And Amazon, it's not biased, and you get it within hours to get that. And the smaller that gap is, that feedback gap, the quicker you can iterate and improve your product. And I'll give examples on what we did with that later, but a brand learning in days and optimizing in days leaps ahead of other brands that are very traditional and slow. So because if you're getting that, okay, you found out the lid, it doesn't close all the way, it closed tightly. You optimize that quickly. I mean, there's so many examples. Just another example, we had a foot massager. We noticed that the heat was a little bit too high, so it was a little bit overheating, and we got a batch with quick feedback. We immediately iterated on the next batch to optimize that. In retail, we would have shipped in thousands of units, and we would have got that very slow. So that's where the feedback gap is very helpful. If you find this helpful so far, leave a like, it helps the channel. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. The second reality about Amazon is it has the largest portion of e-commerce sales, and it's not even close. It sits at around 40%. And then after that, you have Shopify combining all of its merchants at around 14.2%. And then after that is Walmart at around 9.2%. So you can see the gap is unbelievably wide. And if you're not optimizing for Amazon, you're missing out on a huge portion of e-commerce sales. And even the larger brands, they knew that. I mean, when you look at Grüns, for example, no one thinks of them on Amazon, but $90 million of their sales came out of the 300 million, so around 25% came from Amazon, even though they weren't optimizing for it. But it just shows that Amazon has that pent-up demand. So yes, feedback is helpful, but feedback doesn't pay the bills. That's where the sales themselves are coming in, and they're very valuable. Millions of Prime customers with their credit cards already in Amazon, typing exactly what they want. The only question is who's going to get it. On D2C, you have to create your own demand. You have to drive customers to your website. On Amazon, you're capturing demand that's already coming. And it's all allocated by keywords. So who's going to win certain keywords? Who's going to win that search term? And it's a contest to get that buyer's money, basically. And that's where, again, we're going to mention this later, you're forcing to get better because you have to win on those keywords. And that's the part most brands miss. Your growth isn't hiding in searches for your brand name, because you could have argued that you could got that demand there that's on your website or Amazon, although I think you still would have gotten Amazon. That demand you already own. The incremental revenue, it lives in generic searches, buyers who've never heard of you, and that's where you get NTB, new to brand customers. And to win those keywords, you have to take them from whoever owns them now. That's why share of voice and to see how much you capture the entire market is very crucial, because you're seeing how much you're winning in that keyword. So which means your product actually has to be better. The algorithm ranks what performs, clicks, conversion, reviews, staying in stock. There's no slotting fees, there's no buyer that likes you. It really is an unbiased marketplace that you have to win teeth and nail, which just forces you to get better. A generic brand can outrank a Fortune 500 by converting better. And that's where Amazon, they want to optimize for the customer journey. So whoever's converting the best for the keyword, they're going to get that best organic ranking. And when you win that keywords, it shows up where you actually care, incremental revenue, and that's where it shows up on your bottom lines, basically. So the feedback that we mentioned in the first point, it makes you better, it continue optimize it, but then on top of that, the more important part is you're getting incremental revenue on those keyword searches that you otherwise wouldn't have gotten. Even worse, arguably, if you're not good on Amazon, you could even lose your branded search because they see someone else, good star ratings, good reviews. So not only could you miss out on incremental revenue, but you could miss out on revenue that you would have gotten otherwise just by being there and being basic. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So if you want to make sure that you're optimizing for your Amazon revenue, that's where you can check us out at vodera.com. Come book a strategy call, and let's jump into the third point. This third point is where it all comes full circle. This system forces your product and brand to get better. When bad reviews are showing up publicly, when you're getting quick feedback, when you have a chance to win incremental revenue, when you have a chance to defend your existing revenue so competitors would take us, this really is what drives your brand to continuously get better every single day. Most brands think retail validates a product. It really doesn't. It validates a buyer's guess that you're dealing with one buyer in Walmart. They could be a subjective. They could have something that day where they jump on you. But Amazon validates demand. Actual data, there's almost the least, emotions always exist, but the least amount of emotions exists. Thousands of strangers that have Prime ready to grade you in public based on the main factors, ratings, reviews, right? Pricing, all those kind of factors, your main image, your product detail page. So objective factors that you have to compete with others for, in again a sea of brutal competition that you have to win, that you're continuously forced to get better. Most importantly, that these reviews, they're free research and development. Like, yes, it hurts to get a 1-star review, but that's valuable feedback to improve your product that you're getting for free. You have to pay sometimes to get a survey or all that kind of stuff. On Amazon, you get them quick, fast, and free, and you have to make sure that you're using them to continuously edit. And then also you can look at the return reasons. Why are customers returning it? You want to improve your returns. And then not only that, but then competitor reviews are also stuff that you can look at for R&D. So all sits together and you can see how you're matching up for each other. And even now, if you go to the top of the reviews, Amazon AI surfaces the main pros and cons of an item. One example, one of our partners, they realized they were getting 1- and 2-star reviews, not because of anything wrong with the product, but because there was a critical step in the installation that was implied to be understood by the customers. But some customers, they really didn't understand it. So they stuck by it by 15 minutes, and some of them didn't install it right. So the product broke down. And this was basically like a TV stand. And what happened was it was around the 4th or 5th step. We added another step in the middle. So it used to be 6 steps total. Now it was 7 steps. We added a step between the 4th and 5th step, outlining that one specifically in the new manual book, because we understood where the issue was coming from in the root cause. And that alone took our rating from 4.1 stars to 4.4 stars. But we wouldn't have gotten that detailed feedback, for example, from big box retailers. So you have to understand them. And these flaws could survive for years in retailers, but on Amazon, they're going to be surfaced very quickly. So the reality is Amazon is paying you twice. You're getting the revenue obviously from there, but the second payment is this intelligence and proof. I was working with an 8-figure deodorant brand, and they were deciding whether to launch a new scent, and they actually didn't launch it in retailers, even though they would have gotten shelf space, all that kind of stuff. They launched it on Amazon, and they realized the reason that we did this is because we wanted to get that quick feedback. And this was great that we did it, because we realized that the odor was a little bit too light. And once we got this feedback back, and they were comparing it to existing scents, we increased the intensity of the scent, and in return, we made sure we sent another batch in. Yes, it took up around 2 months, but we started seeing the 1 and 2 stars become less, and the 5 stars become more. and because of the scent hitting very well. But also, more importantly, the other side of this intelligence proof is you understood what percentage was that variation, that scent, compared to the overall parent ASIN. This ASIN had 6 cents. This one was coming in as a 7 cent. So approximately, let's just say if everything were equal, it's 15 to 17% of the total, right? But it's never equal, obviously. We realized that this new scent was taking 26.5% of the overall ASIN sales. So once we did that for retail and we wanted to launch in retail, we had this scent produce much more because we knew it was going to sell proportionally more than its equal share in the entire thing. And Amazon lately has been, even adding to that, has been extremely generous with giving data, whether it's brand analytics, SQP, search query performance, all that kind of stuff. If you want a full breakdown of how Groons leveraged Amazon to get their $1.2 billion exit, I speak specifically on the exact strategies they use to make the most of Amazon and have that generate $90 million or the $300 million in sales over here.